So you know an anti-hero where Taylor Swift was like, when my depression works the graveyard shift? These past like what, 2-3 weeks, my depression has worked the graveyard shift, the day shift, and the swing shift. So put that in a song, T-Dog. It's been a weird couple weeks, y'all. Like, I had so many vlogs planned and then they ended up half filmed. I had so many video ideas planned and they ended up half planned. So here we are, new month, hoping to reset life a little bit. Feeling a little better depression-wise, still not great. I personally blame it on the fact that the weather went from sunny and warm to literal cold and threatening to snow overnight, because seasonal depression mixed with normal depression is never a good mix. Hey friends, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today's video I will be wrapping up the books that I read for Trick or Treat-a-thon. I had a bigger TBR than this planned. I'm not gonna lie, I had another additional like 3 books that were arcs that I wanted to read. Did not get to it. I also didn't get to one book, but I literally finished that book yesterday. So I cannot include it because I admitted those words out loud. And also, if y'all saw me finish my last book on November 2nd, you did not. I have 6 books that I read last month, so let's just kind of get into it. So I'm going to go with the book that I did not end up, the book that I do not own, and that is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark by, I think, Alvin Schwartz. This is a childhood favorite of mine. It's the first in a series of 3 books following, as it sounds like, different scary stories that you can read in the dark. I did end up giving this a 3 out of 5 stars. I thought this was a different collection from what it is. I think what I was remembering that I like look back on fondly is the second book and not the first book. I think the second book had the girl with the ribbon around her neck and the girl who was like dancing with the dude, and it turns out she had been dead the whole time, and the girl who snuck out and danced with the devil accidentally. I like those stories more than this, which was kind of like a mix of like stories, folk tales, and then like random interjections you could do to actually scare people if you were to say, read this book in the dark. 3 out of 5 stars. Definitely not my favorite out of the trilogy. I think there were a couple more in the second book that I really enjoyed, but it was a nice thing to revisit and enjoy my childhood. And I think this fulfilled the prompt for the Simpsons Treehouse, which is to read a short story anthology or a scary short story. Talking about the final book that I read and which fulfilled the prompt for Teen Titans, which is read a gothic novel, and that is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride by Roshani Chokshi. This is a gothic novel following a young girl, I guess a young man, an adult man, marrying this mysterious woman called Indigo Maxwell Castañeda. Yeah, Castañeda. And they get married and are in love, and she makes him promise to never tell the truth about, or never start prying into her past, into her life before they met. He has upheld this promise. He has no plans of ever kind of messing up the relationship. That is, until one day Indigo finds out that her only surviving aunt is currently dying, and they have to return to the House of Dreams, the childhood home that Indigo grew up with. And while they're at this home, the husband, the bridegroom, is slowly becoming more and more intrigued in Indigo's past, her best friend Azure, and all the things in between. This is actually one of the 2 books that I did for my 5-star predictions vlogs, which I don't have a vlog for this month, or for October, because again, depression worked overtime, much like I did. I was really excited for this book. I have heard a lot of good things about Roshani Chokski's writing in general. I didn't really enjoy her first like trilogy. I tried to get really into it really hard, did not really just vibe with it. So I figured a gothic novel is kind of up my alley. I read it. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I was very intrigued in the book. I wanted to continue reading, so it definitely wasn't the fact that it was slow and boring, but after a while certain things just felt very heavy-handed. It was a lot of like literal mentions of fantasy and fairy tales. There was a literal mention of one of them being like Susan Pevensey waiting to get back into the wardrobe wearing stocking like nylons and lipstick. And I was just like, okay, I think this is getting a little too heavy-handed now. We are no longer referencing, we are now name-dropping fantasies, which kind of, to me, really break my focus out of it. And then the big plot twist that led up to it, truly, I had inklings about it going forward, but at the same time, it wasn't as climactic as I thought it was gonna be. I thought we were gonna get like some huge reveal, and instead it was like very downplayed and nothing really came of it. When I got done with the book, I felt like the book wasn't supposed to end there, and not in a good way, not in like an ooh, I can leave it here, this has like sufficed my curiosity, I have gotten a chance to figure this out, it's good here. No, this was not good here. It ended and I was just very confused, and I felt like whatever enjoyment I had gotten from the first chunk of the book was very lost and no longer existed by the time I got to the end of the book. So definitely, I think I'm gonna take this as a sign that maybe Roshani Chokski's writing style is just not vibing with the brain that's rolling around in my head. So 3 out of 5 stars. I don't think I would recommend, like literally I don't remember much of the book now, and I literally finished it maybe 8 days ago. I can't remember anything that happened. It just was not that memorable. And it really did try to go a little too heavy-handed on the fairy tale mentions, and then the mentions like trying to make it really gothic in the sense that the house was like actively doing something, you know, because like in gothic literature the world around them is alive. Like you see a lot of like literal houses like moving and growing and all that stuff. It literally took it into like that form, but in a way that the characters were conscious about it, and it was just like conscious and like accepting of it, and it just it lacked a lot of things that I enjoy in a gothic novel. So if you are like a really, like if you're huge in the gothic literature standpoint, this book might not be for you, but if you're trying to dip your little toes in here and you don't mind a little bit of heavy-handedness, probably a good book for you. But it's just not for me. By the time the book was done, I was like, well, that was incredibly mid. That was really incredibly mid. Moving on to my other 5-star predictions, and that is Freddy versus the Family Curse by Tracy Badois. This is a middle grade novel which fulfills the Magic Schoolhouse prompt, which is to read a middle grade novel. This follows young Freddy, who has been kind of struggling with the family curse. He literally cannot do anything correctly because of the family curse. Something happens and ruins his grades, ruins the Robo Warrior cards he's been collecting, all of the above. That is until one day he finds an anting, which is like supposed to be a little like charm for good luck, and unleashes his ancestor, who actually was the cause of the curse. Now that he has like reignited the curse, Freddy has 13 days to break the curse before he is sucked back into the anting, much like his long lost family member here in the back, which I don't know if you can see. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed this book. It was a fun little quick read. I definitely would have read through it a lot faster if I wasn't like, you know, at work. But I really enjoyed it. I think that the characters really were fun to read. I love seeing the comedic aspects of like Freddy really just giving up on himself because of this curse. He's like, oh yeah, I don't socialize. I don't do sports. I don't try for anything because this curse is a really freaking huge problem in my life. And just to see like the little bits of Filipino like culture weaved in with the anting, the history about the Filipino, I think, American War that was in here. It was just a really good time, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for like a cute little like middle grade novel to kind of spice up your fall time or winter time. It's not super spoopy, but it's really fun and really cute, and I highly recommend it. And definitely was a good 5-star prediction. The next book I read is one that I am unsure will show up on camera because it is reflective, but that is the uncensored version of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. We all know what it's about by now, but this is the uncensored manuscript that was not allowed to be published in Victorian times because of the sexual and homosexual aspects of the book. Now, I'm going to quickly repeat this because I feel like every time I mention this book a lot, but this follows young Dorian Gray, who gets his portrait painted, and he realizes in his heart of hearts that he cannot ever look this young again. He is like, I need it, like this painting will continue to look young forever and I will grow old and ugly and decrepit. So he, whether unconscious or consciously, makes a deal and, you know, ends up transferring his soul into the painting, and every sin that he creates or does, the soul becomes more and more decrepit and ugly and disturbing looking, while he remains this almost cherubim kind of boy and never ages. This is the uncensored version, and this also fulfills the prompt for Powerpuff Girls, which is to read a book including demons. I don't know if there is a demon in this book, but, you know, bending the rules a little bit as a host is what I do best. I give this a 5 out of 5 stars. I should have, as the good investigator that I should be, to have read the published manuscript and the unpublished manuscript side by side to see the differences. I have noticed some differences just kind of off of my mind. The homosexual tendencies are in fact there, but I really enjoyed it. It's definitely gonna sit comfortably on my shelves with the rest of my collection, and I think I'm gonna have to call it with a total of 4 versions of this book, unless like another cover comes out at me and brings me to life in a way that I've never felt before. Highly recommend it if you haven't read it before. I also recommend the original published version. I think you'll enjoy them both, but if you are a nerd like me, I'll probably be rereading this book and the original published version and comparing notes. The second to last book fulfills the prompt for Special Efforts Zack and Cody, and that is to read a banned book, and I chose All Boys Aren't Blue by George M. Johnson. This is a young adult non-fiction memoir following, like, really talking about George M. Johnson's life as a young queer kid, what that means for a black queer person growing up and in a black family and all the things in between. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. This book made me so emotional, and again, much like every other popular and properly hyped book there is, kicking my butt a little bit that I haven't read it yet. But I really did enjoy this. I thought that it was really a poignant read and really discusses on a lot of topics that I think are really important for young kids to read, even if they are not queer and or black, but especially if they are queer and or black. I highly recommend it if you haven't had a chance to read it quite yet. It's a very, like, it's a hard read, but in the sense of like the density of the book, it's not a difficult read. Like, you're not going to be reading for ages and ages. The font is kind of large, and it, like I said, it's a good read. And I'll link the vlog that I did for it down below for you guys so you can see my full thoughts on it, but I highly recommend it if you have not had a chance to read it yet. And the very last book on this list is one that I have made an entire vlog and a review for, so I won't be discussing this too much. I will just leave those linked down below for you guys so you guys can go ahead and take a look at it. And that is The Sword Catcher, or I guess Sword Catcher, she removed the in the title, by Cassandra Clare. This is her first venture into high adult fantasy. It follows dual perspectives. One is Kel, who is meant to be like the prince's like shadow. He is meant to take difficult tasks for the prince and pose as him to protect the prince from assassination attempts. And Lynn, who is a Ashkar, who is like one of the few people in this world that can still harness magic and is persecuted for it. Their paths cross after an assassination attempt fails and someone's life is put in jeopardy. I ended up giving this a 4 out of 5 stars. I talk about it more in my vlog, but my biggest issue with it was pacing. And however, I did really enjoy Cassie's venture into an adult fantasy. I will be excited to see what else she has in store for the series, as this I think was a very good setup for the rest of the world and the potential plot that's going to be occurring. The ending broke me. It was a very sad ending, or at least like the climax of the book was very sad. I was not anticipating it in the slightest. But I highly recommend it if you are a big fan of Cassie Clare. I will warn you though, it is not a Cassie Clare book. Like, a lot of my friends were telling me that like myself, are very comfortable with the fact that Cassie Clare is a very much like get in the meat of things kind of writer in her YA literature. Not the case in this one, but I will let my spoiler-free and my spoiler-filled vlog and review go ahead and give you guys all of the good juicy detail that you need. But that is it for my wrap-up for October. I read 6 books, so hopefully November starting out a little bit on the slower side because of Nano, but you know, hopefully November's a little better and we get more and more 5-star reads. But until next time, if you guys have read these books, let me know in the comments down below. If you want me to do a review of these books or more in-depth thoughts on these books, let me know. Until next time, hit like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye!